Yes, my cup does match my top. No, that's not accidental. Hi, welcome, come on in. My name is Aoife and today I am taking the Contradictions book tag. This was originally created by Daniela from Only If For a Page, and I have seen it literally everywhere on BookTube at the moment. But I feel like now it is my turn to get my opinions out. It may not be known as the Controversial Opinions book tag, but I can't promise you that some of the opinions in here aren't going to be controversial anyway. Into question one, which is a genre that you love, but a book in that genre you didn't enjoy. It's not a secret that I am a huge contemporary romance fiction stan. I love anything to do with contemporary romance, whether it's clean or sweet or fluffy or steamy or smutty. Anything that has to do with two people falling in love in our world, sign me up for it. However, a couple of years ago, I read an arc of The Friendzone by Abby Jimenez and I absolutely despised it. I've said that a couple of times here, but I don't think that I can actively get across just how much I hated this book. It was fine for quite a bit of it. It was okay for a lot of it. It's about a woman called Kristen and a man named Josh who are pretty much perfect for each other apart from one thing. Josh wants to have a huge family, but Kristen is suffering from infertility and she's kind of coming to terms with the fact that she's going to be child-free for the rest of her life. I think they worked really well as a friendship pair, and it would have been really nice to have them get together and adopt or have surrogate children or get into the foster care system. However, what actually happens at the end of this book is, by some magical coincidence, Kristen has a natural baby, first time out of the bat, and it just happens for him. I thought that was such a kick in the teeth to anyone who is struggling with infertility, who has wanted a child for years and years and years, and is still trying and is still waiting, and then picks up this book as a kind of a comfort read because they know that the main character is also suffering from infertility, is also not going to have the child that they've wanted and waited for such a long time. And then it just falls into their lap, so to speak. I absolutely hated the idea of it. So much so that I haven't actually gone and picked up any of the other Abby Jimenez books because I don't really trust her not to treat something else, something quite as heavy as divorce or bereavement. I don't trust her to treat them with any respect either. Question two is, I rarely read this genre, but I absolutely loved this book. I am not a sci-fi girly. I don't really like sci-fi. I don't really like robots. I don't really like any kind of books or films or TV shows in the genre. However, I picked up The Loneliest Girl in the Universe by Lauren James about a year, maybe 2 years ago, and I fell in love with it. The cover is pretty much what drew me to it in the first place, but the storyline is a little bit deeper. The book follows Romy, who is on a spaceship from Earth to a brand new planet where they're going to set up an entire new ecosystem, an entire new society. But while she's on the way there, everybody else on the spaceship, including her own two parents, have actually perished. So she is the only person still alive on this mission. She's also getting some correspondence from something like NASA back on Earth. So she's not completely cut off from society. However, one day a brand new message comes through on the system that there is another ship being sent out a little bit further behind on the journey than hers is. And they kind of set up a correspondence between the two ships, and she gets to know the captain of the other one. And then things start to unfold from there. This book really did grip me. It has got a little bit of a romance element, so it didn't have absolutely everything that I'm not looking for. But it's got some mystery, it's got some suspense, it's got a kind of a thriller vibe to it. And there is, of course, the sci-fi element to it, but I wouldn't necessarily say that that was a huge thing about this book. So for me, it was a pretty decent read all the same. Question three is, I love this trope, but I didn't like this book. I am obsessed with fake dating. If there is a book where two characters have to pretend to be married or have to kind of put on a face that they are dating each other, even if they can't actually stand each other, hook it to my veins. There are so many books out there with this trope that I absolutely adore and have eaten up whole, but there is also one that I didn't enjoy. I did not like If I Never Met You by Vari McFarlane. This book follows Laurie and Jamie, who are working together as co-workers, and they kind of fake date each other. Jamie for a promotion, and Laurie because her partner of 18 years has just left her for a younger woman who has gotten pregnant, and Jamie wants to make it seem like she is getting over it and moving on and everything is cool. I found the book really slow paced. I didn't really get any chemistry between Jamie and Laurie, even though, like I said, if the characters don't necessarily like each other right from the start, I can still get on board with it. Here, it was really hard for me to get in the groove. As well as that, something that I didn't enjoy is that the main character, Laurie, is a person of colour written by a white author. That can always be a bit of a red flag alarm system for me, and I don't think it should have been done here. Question 4 is the exact opposite. I hate this trope, but I loved this book. I'm not a fan of the surprise pregnancy. I'm not a fan of the pregnancy in the epilogue trope. You will kind of see that in how much I despised The Friendzone by Abby Jimenez, as I've said already. But I kind of liked it in Josh and Hazel's Guide to Not Dating by Christina Lauren. I really loved the chemistry between Josh and Hazel. It was a friends to lovers romance that really kind of slow built throughout the whole book. Okay, I didn't get fully on board with it, but of the books that I've read with the pregnancy trope at the end, this is the one that I am the most on board with. It just seemed like the most natural progression in Josh and Hazel's relationship. His reaction to Hazel becoming pregnant was really nice, and it was a really stand-up moment for him throughout the book. And I just really loved this epilogue of them being a couple of years down the line and growing their family and seeing how things were getting on for them. Question 5 is I love this author, but I didn't like this book, and that is About a Girl by Lindsay Kelk. It's the first in the About a Girl series, and I don't necessarily know if I'm going to continue on with them, considering that I didn't love About a Girl, and I've tried it twice. I read it first as a physical book, and then I read it as an audiobook because I thought, you know what, if I change up the format, if I change up the reading speeds, how I'm expressing with the book, maybe that will bring in some different feelings. I might connect with it a little bit more, but it just didn't work out. The book follows Tess, who picks up the phone of her roommate, who is an absolutely horrible person throughout the entire start of the book. Her roommate even goes as far as sleeping with the guy that Tess has been in love with for about 10 years. Having picked up the phone, Tess is hired as a photographer for a photo shoot in Hawaii under the guise of Vanessa, her roommate. I didn't really connect with Tess as much as a character. I didn't kind of love her subterfuge or her personality as much as I have other Lindsay Kelk characters, so I just don't think that this one is going to be one I'm going to go back to. Question 6 is I previously didn't like a book by this author, but then I liked a subsequent book from them. And that author is Graham Norton. I did not really love Holding, which was his debut book from I think 2015-16 kind of time. It was fine. I might give it a second try. I think I just didn't like the characterization. I didn't really like how the writing flowed in it. I think maybe he was just trying to find his pace as an author, trying to find out where he was going. But the book of his that absolutely enamored me was A Keeper. I read this pretty much all in one day in April in 2021. I could not put this book down. You know when you get so engrossed into a thriller and you have to find out the outcome, you have to find out why this person has done this thing and it's ended up in this action? That's pretty much this book. There is a kind of a double timeline in this book, which is something that I really enjoy. I love books that are set in 2 different time frames, but I absolutely adored this one. I felt like I just had to keep reading about the woman who was trapped in a house. Why was she trapped there? How did she get in there in the first place? And was she ever going to escape? Question 7 is I loved this cover, but I didn't like this book. I absolutely adored the cover of The Marriage Game by Sarah Desai. I will admit that the cover is kind of one of the reasons that I bought it in the first place. I thought it was really eye-catching. It's got quite a lot of food elements on it, and I absolutely really love the design around the kind of the border here. It's something that follows through in the other books in the Marriage Game series by Sarah Desai, but I didn't love what was inside it. Sam, who is the love interest in this book, I really did not get on board with him. I found him very kind of controlling. I found him really kind of dominant. And that's not a personality trait that I enjoy reading from my male love interests. So that really did dampen the book for me. Also, there is a revelation about 75% of the way through the book. I didn't get to 75% of the book, but when I heard that what the revelation was and how much it affected Layla and her family, I was so glad that I had left this book to the side, because I would have thrown it into the sea. Last up is I don't like this cover, but I did like this book. And for this one, I'm going to go with Girlhood by Kat Clark. I actually thought that the cover was awful. I didn't like the burnt matches around it. I felt like it was a little bit too simplistic, but what was inside absolutely hooked me. Girlhood is about Harper, whose twin sister Jenna has passed away throughout the year. Harper is placing quite a lot of the blame for Jenna's passing on herself, and she has just started attending a new boarding school. She's making new friends. She's kind of coming to terms with her sister and the loss of her sister. But a new girl starts at the school called Kirsty, and Kirsty is pretty much threatening to overthrow everything Harper has worked for so far. Her friendship circle, her family, her thoughts on herself, her schoolwork. I absolutely loved this. I haven't read YA in quite a long time, and this book had actually been sitting on my TBR for 4 years by the time I got to it. When I did finally read it, I was pretty pissed off with myself for not having picked it up sooner than I did. I was completely gripped by the story, by the school setting, and it's definitely one that I wish I had read sooner. Those are my answers to the Contradictions book tag. If you haven't taken it already, the last question is to tag somebody, so consider yourself tagged if this is one you'd like to do. Don't forget to like and subscribe because I have new videos up every week. Now, get on out of here.